What's up, guys? Tom from antiprohibit.org. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video. Actually, I'll just do it as an overlay. But I want to talk to you guys about drug prohibition and why it needs to end. Basically, it needs to end to save lives. Drugs have been prohibited in a state of full or partial prohibition for 108 years, and the results have been devastating. People are dying as a direct result of prohibition. And the reason I say that is it's not that people don't die from opioids, specifically opioids, but methamphetamine is also dangerous too, especially when it gets contaminated with fentanyl or carfentanil. The reason people die from opioids isn't because they do them, it's because they don't know how much they're doing. When's the last time that you got a six-pack of beer and drank one beer and got so hammered that you died? It doesn't happen because alcohol is legal, therefore regulated, and you know before you consume it exactly how much is in the can that you're about to drink. 5.9% alcohol by volume or whatever it is. And you know for a fact how much is going to be in there because it's legal and regulated. We could do the same thing for drugs. What we need to do is we need to tax a safe supply of domestically produced narcotics, or we can make things that it can't be produced here, we can refine them here. The reason this has to happen is because A, it will save lives because people will therefore know how much of a particular substance they're about to consume, and because it could be taxed. And the national debt is now so large that within 10 years, Social Security won't be able to pay its bills. At the same time as that's going to run out, the interest on the national debt will get so high and so exorbitant that 50% of our income will need to be taxed just to pay for the interest alone. That means that it's never going to shrink and it's going to spiral out of control quickly. The government was asked about this. Well, not the government. It's not like there's this big boogeyman called the government, although kind of is. The financial department of the government, what the hell's her name? Not the FDA, but the Fed, the Federal Reserve. Sorry, the Federal Reserve was recently asked what they foresaw as their solution to this. Would they cut taxes or would they increase taxes? Would they cut spending or increase taxes? And they almost overwhelmingly replied that they would just increase taxes because apparently 37% of your money isn't enough for them. That is ridiculous. But this isn't about finances. This is about drugs and why they need to be legal. Finances are just one aspect of that. The other aspect is that it's just un-American to prohibit a substance. What I want to do behind my closed doors in my house should be my business, and I shouldn't have to risk my life because I want to get high. I don't want to get high. It's not for me. I'm sober, and I'm not going to go back anytime soon, primarily because I'm afraid, but also because I just don't want to live that life anymore. But many people do, and they shouldn't be forced to die or to choose between being well or risking death on a daily basis because of the government's refusal to budge on prohibition. Let's flash back to the 1920s. I want to give you guys a quick history lesson. In 1920, I think it was 4, don't quote me on that, alcohol was prohibited by the 18th Amendment. Immediately, the distribution and production of alcohol moved underground. Because in America, if we want to do something, we're going to do it, even if it's illegal. You can't be... That brings me to another point. I think that anyone who is pro-choice should be by default anti-prohibition, because the same argument applies to drugs as it does to abortion. I hear pro-choicers all the time saying if you prohibit abortions, women are just going to get them anyway. They'll just be more dangerous. And it just boggles my mind that these same people will also make the argument that heroin should stay illegal and that methamphetamine should be illegal, because it's the same argument. That's why it's dangerous, because it's illegal in the first place. Anyway, back to the history lesson. In 1924, I think, alcohol prohibition came around, and immediately it created gang violence, because gangs were the only people that were crazy enough to meddle in it. Speakeasies were a thing, underground booze consumption sites, basically. And people had booze dealers, which sounds funny when you say it, but it's true. It only took about, I think, 10 years for the country to come to its collective senses until they passed the 21st Amendment, which was the repeal of the prohibition of alcohol. It's my contention that we need to expand the scope of the 21st Amendment to include all naturally occurring substances, at least all naturally occurring substances. But actually, it should just be all substances in general, because we've tried prohibiting it. It's not working. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And in that way, our country's approach to the prohibition of drugs has been anything but sane. We just keep saying we're going to lock up the dealers and get harsher sentences for the dealers. And then we tried persecuting addicts. We still persecute addicts. Something like 70% of all people currently incarcerated today are either there or were first introduced to the penal system for nonviolent drug-related offenses. Then you have what I consider a gross human rights violation, when you have to urinate in cups in full view of another adult sometimes, so they can put your urine under a mass spectrometer, blast it with a laser, and determine what you've been doing in your free time in your own house. That's definitely an invasion of privacy, and I think it's a human rights violation, because you shouldn't have to pee in front of other adults. Sometimes they don't even give you much notice. I've heard horror stories of people being on probation or parole and getting called that they have to come do a urine test. They have to be there within 2 hours sometimes. Some of these people can't drive because of their drug-related offenses, and they get violated all the time. False positives occur. It's a nightmare, and it's time that we just say enough. If you want to do drugs in your own house, you should be allowed to. Not just marijuana, but also heroin, morphine, all the naturally occurring opioids, 100%. Morphine and codeine, if you can grow it, you should be able to have it. It's that simple. The last argument I just want to leave you with is that I believe the founding fathers would have agreed with me, insofar as they enshrined in the Constitution that we have the God-given right to the pursuit of happiness. Who is the government to tell me, or who are you to tell me, or who's carrying prohibition down the street to tell me that when I'm getting high, that's not my pursuit of happiness? You can't tell me that, because everyone's pursuit of happiness looks different. So yeah, visit my website. You can sign a petition there. You can also print out a letter to your senator. I would prefer you print it and mail it, because I heard someone that's much more familiar with politics than I say once that politicians generally weight handwritten or mailed letters more than they do emails, which makes sense, because it only takes a few minutes to rattle off an email. If you take the time to write it or print it out, sign it, and put a stamp on it, that just means more. But yeah, I'm going to put a link in the description. If you could visit my website and learn more about what I'm trying to do, the reasons for it, the financial reasons, the human rights reasons, the privacy reasons, and just the fact that it's just going to save a lot of lives. Other Western nations have already taken this step, and they don't see a massive uptick in usage levels. That's one of the arguments that people will make to me sometimes when they're pro-prohibition. They'll be like, well, everyone's going to do heroin then. To which I'm just like, no, they're not. Because if you're the type of person that's willing to inject what you hope is the substance that you think it is into your arm or your neck, the fact that it's illegal isn't much of a deterrent to you any at that point anyway. So yeah, it's high time for change, guys. See you later. Bye.